Good afternoon, it's Esther Pasidis, and this is my Marketing Monday weekly live. And happy Independence Day. I know we're obviously not in the US, but to all those in America, happy Independence Day. And I hope you're having a great holiday if, for example, you're watching this on the replay. So I hope you had a great time. So I'm going to talk to you about be in receivership of your goals. So what do I mean by that? This sounds a bit cryptic. So essentially what I'm saying is that you have to be in the assumption of your goals. You have to be in the energy of your goals, be at a frequency or a vibrational match to your goals. The assumption that they are already a given or a done deal, they already exist in your reality, and you're just shifting your perception of who you are and your consciousness. So I'll demonstrate by example. So if you want to realize the goal of more money, so if you've got a specific target, a figure in mind, you have to match or tune your frequency or to that wavelength of having received the more money, having received that amount already. So it's not through your actions you do this, but it's an energetic shift in your awareness, in your consciousness, and therefore in your feeling vibration. So the problem we have is that we are very much victim of the underlying programs running in the background. So when we've actually had past attempts of making more money and we've come across some resistance in the past, we keep thinking that's our default setting, that's actually going to show up again and again. So until actually we make that switch in our awareness, in our consciousness, in our identity, then we're not going to actually make the external shift. So it's all about making corrections in our energy, in our alignment. So if we're not in alignment with that goal, if we don't truly match or believe that goal can be real for us, well, guess what? It's always going to elude us. So we need to work on our own awareness, our own energy, our own frequency, how it shows up on a day-to-day basis. So if we're then aware, conscious of where our thoughts are running, even if we feel that we are consciously in control, we're not always. So just always be aware of what's going on underneath the surface. And if you've got some sort of conflicting thoughts, so one minute your willpower says, oh, yes, I'm going to achieve this goal and I'm going to work really hard to get this goal, but underneath there is that inner resistance saying there's all these internal dialogues going on saying, oh, I haven't really achieved it in the past, am I going to get it now? There's all these doubts that are bubbling to the surface, and am I going to get those closed shut doors? People are not going to say yes to me. And then when we start literally listening to that voice rather than the voice that, yes, this is true for me, this can be done, and assuming that it is already a given, then we're going to actually have that as an overriding theme. We're going to have all the doubts really knocking that. So in fact, we're going to stay exactly where we are. We're going to have one frequency that's counteracting another frequency. So basically then they balance or cancel each other out. So we're never going to move forward towards our goals. And when we actually do go forward with our goals, with all the mechanical action. So I know I've done this, and when I've learned to let go, that's actually when the results have shown up in my life. And I seem to do this, but I think I'm doing this because there's a reason why I'm doing this, because I'm showing my clients that this is not the way to go. So working very much in hustle and working hard, trying to prove ourselves, trying to say, yes, we can achieve those goals. But what we're actually doing is emphasizing the fact that there is that discrepancy. We're not actually there in our goals energetically. So it creates that dissonance in our energy. So there's that friction. It comes around to what we call in the Angel method resistance in our energy. So we'll have this seesaw effect, and sometimes it actually goes in the opposite direction. So what we can do is, first of all, to be aware of when that's happening. And the second step is then, it really is as simple as switching that changing that sort of program, changing that record on the turnstile, saying, what do I rather believe? I'd rather believe that I am already successful and that my past is not who defines me now or will define me going forward. And once we connect to that assumption of that future goal already achieved, we already assume it in our awareness, in our consciousness, in our energy, right here, right now, in the present moment. Then the psychological shift translates into a physical shift. So you will find that through consistency with that thought, that positive vibration, assuming the wish is already fulfilled and feeling into it. So the feeling is actually a very, very important aspect, because it's not just a thinking frequency, it's a feeling frequency. So it intensifies that vibration at that frequency. So when we connect to the feeling, so I invite you to sort of look at that goal and say, yes, that's me. I own that goal. That is my identity. I am that successful person. So it's making that shift already, assuming that new identity. So we talk a lot about, shedding the old skin, shedding the old beliefs. It really is like a serpent, just letting go of that. And ossify, create a new skin that actually suits us better and allows that expansion, that energetic expansion, because the old one is literally keeping us encrusted in that old skin that's actually stopping us from growing. And it may seem comfortable because it's old and familiar, but actually it's stopping you from achieving your desires and your dreams. So when you start changing your frequency into the assumption, matched to the aligned to the assumption of that person, you see yourself as a successful. And again, it's, as I keep saying, it's not actually all the physical action, it's all the inner work, the alignment, inner alignment. When you think that you are that person, when you feel you are that person, then the physical will change to match, because through the law of cause and effect, through the law of attraction, the law of vibration, all these laws work in unison to actually create that external shift to match that new assumption of yourself, the new person of who you are and who you associate with in terms of your realization of goals. So it's, and it's the same works with any type of goal, whether it's a money goal or whether it's a losing weight goal, the same applies. So if we're always struggling with losing weight, it's the reason being is that we haven't assumed that identity of being that slimmer person or that more healthy sized person. We're not talking about necessary size, weight. We're talking about maybe become fit, just feeling more healthy in our bodies. And when we assume that in our awareness, in our consciousness, in our energy, we feel that we create a mental image and we connect our emotions to that image. That's how we do this inner work. So we connect to the vibration, the feeling in the physical body, how that feels for us. It's not necessarily already existing in our physical reality, but we've got to hang on to the faith, believe in the law of assumption, that when we assume this, and working through the other laws, spiritual laws and the physical laws of nature, and physics, that will happen, that will come to pass. And how long it takes, it doesn't really matter. It's as long as your faith continues and you persist. And I've seen literally, I flicked my switch today because I was a little bit in too much doing mode last week, and I went into a slump. And that's what happens when we do too much action towards a goal. We get into an overwhelm, we get into a burnout, we get into feeling that we're trying to do something. Basically, we're trying to bridge a gap, and therefore the focus is not on the realization of the end goal, is actually on the deficiency, what's missing. We're focusing on how that affects us, and under the hood, under the surface, in terms of our energy, it does drag us down. So no wonder when we do too much hustle and work hard, it affects us vibrationally, it affects our feelings, and we go into a slump. It's not just a physical expenditure of energy, it's also an energy, really, we've also expired on our energy. So our energetic balance, alignment is gone, it's gone out of whack. So we're again in resistance mode. And so that has, as I said before, that has that counter effect. So it's like we're in this tug of war, we're being pinged back. So as they would come back to any other type of goal with losing weight, the best thing is to visualize yourself. And so I do this, I actually want to lose this menopause midriff that I developed over, it literally happened over a couple of months. And but the more I work at it and try hard, thinking, oh, I've got to eat consciously, I've got to cut down on this, and to be honest, it feels like hard work. It feels hard. But when we actually go into the assumption of that wish already fulfilled, that we are that person already in our mind's eye, and we connect to it on a frequency which is connecting to our feelings of the wish fulfilled, then I see myself in this sexy outfit. It can be anything for you, and it's really figure hugging, and it's really flattering because I see myself as that new person. And below, but I actually wake up the next day, my tummy is actually flatter, because you forget the power of the mind as well to affect change. So it's not just this energy piece, but that is obviously, the mind is part of the energy equation, but helps with the metabolism in our cells. When we start thinking more positively anyway, there is that psychosomatic relationship, but I think just even spiritually, on a different level, on a different level of awareness of who we are, that self-identity, it makes a big difference vibrationally. So that's what I wanted to come to be. So what do I mean, coming back to this title of this talk, is that in being receivership of your goals, so it's all therefore about the assumptions that you make about yourself. So are you assuming you are already successful? Because if you are assuming that, and you're connecting to it wholly and fully, then why are you doing all this extra work to try and get there? Because it's already done. Do you understand the dichotomy? So if you're working hard, that means it's absent that, you're not equating to that. But the biggest problem with all this spiritual energy work is that it requires a lot of faith, a lot of trust in these laws, in you as an electromagnetic vibratory human being. More of the being than the doing. The emphasis is always on the being before the doing. So, when we're in that being, then things start shifting, and naturally we start doing because we feel impelled to do according to the assumption of the person who has that goal already achieved. So I want to invite you into my new program. It's called the Empower to Rise. And we do a lot of this work. We do a lot of this internal work, course correcting anything that's gone wrong for you, where you've gone off track, identifying where those resistances are occurring in regard to your goals in life. First of all, obviously getting clear on what those goals should be, which goals are energetically aligned, and also then determining what is it that's keeping you in that seesaw mode, stopping you from, actually realizing your dreams. And actually, then in the second phase, we start really working on this visualization piece, on embodying that and connecting to it on all levels, on all layers of our energy, intellectually, spiritually, and physically, in all areas, emotionally. Emotionally is connected to the physical anyway, because it's through the body that we experience these feelings, you'll notice them. So we do all this work, and it's always working with faith. And when you work with more faith in yourself, faith in spiritual laws, faith in that it is accomplished, and faith through my support of your journey through your life to achieve your goals, that, to be honest, it's just it's an inevitability, because it will happen. It is there for you. It's already existing. That potentiality is already there. So there only remain a potentiality or possibility. They'll always stay a possibility. It's always there. But until we shift our vibrational frequency, until we shift ourselves out of that stuck mode, out of the resistance, we won't ever be in tune with that vibration of the goal accomplished. So this is the work, the precious work I do, with the clients, and I'm launching this program. I'm starting next week. So if you really want to get on board, now this week is your last chance to jump in. And believe you me, after this cohort, the price will go up. So because this is really my scholarship price, because I want people to be on board and really connecting with this material. It's really, really high value stuff, and I make absolutely sure you get the massive transformation that you need to achieve your goals. And we define those as well. We get fullest clarity, what they are and what's in between those goals, and embodying those goals as well energetically. So reach out and give me a message.